Hi, another film I watched this week was The Passage, the 1979 World War II adventure story. It's about a Basque shepherd living in the Pyrenees who is enlisted by the French resistance who secretly crossed the border to get an American scientist to safety from occupied France into Spain and thus being able to travel back to free Britain. He is unwilling to be involved until he manages to negotiate a huge price and then discovers that not only is the scientist traveling with him, but also his frail wife and two late teen children. When he is separated from the resistance men, he finds himself taking the journey by himself, accompanied by the family, and pursued by a fanatical Nazi, played by Malcolm McDowell. It's a film very much at the tail end of a trend. Like the old World War II adventure stories, like the Guns of Navarone, to which this owns a certain debt. The same director, J Lee Thompson and Anthony Quinn, from the previous film playing the Basque. Um, but by the late 70s, those sorts of movies were really going out of fashion, and the result was this film was a critical and commercial failure. And it's now basically forgotten. I'd never really heard of it until it turned up on a streaming service. Um, there is a great dignity, I think, in Quinn's performance. He's playing it as a very believable, difficult character who finds his capacity for courage and compassion and heroism, despite having lost his wife recently and retreated to living in the mountains with his flock of sheep. James Mason as the scientist is it's a decent performance, but it's much more of a supporting role. But really, Malcolm McDowell runs away with the film. He's playing it so much bigger and so much broader and so much more evil than you might expect. His character is almost flamboyantly cruel. At one point, he cuts off a character's fingers, and it's implied he's going to force feed them to him. Another contact who he tries to get information from and is defiant. He simply ties to a chair and burns alive. His his cruelty is really astonishing, and the fact that McDowell plays it so broad, I think, rather than making it small and cold and calculating and evil, it makes it much more of an unbalanced situation with the rest of the movie, which is played much more straight and serious, whereas he's playing it like it's parallel universe, hello, hello. I was surprised by how short the film is. It runs to less than an hour and 50 minutes, but it feels very packed. But another problem is that some of the action scenes are incredibly badly edited, so it's quite hard to see what's going on. The sequence towards the end, where the group crosses the French-Spanish border at a Nazi man border post, it's quite hard to tell what's actually going on because there's a lot of confusing jump cutting between characters and situations and scenes and close-ups, and you can't really piece together what's happening. The climax as well has one character seemingly having flash forwards or hallucinations or flashbacks all at once as the other characters advance on them, and it's hard to tell what's really happening, and it feels like a hallucination sequence which feels out of step with the rest of the movie and should probably have been removed. It's generally a pretty entertaining movie. It has the novelty of one of the producers being Maurice Binder, who was best known for directing most of the James Bond title sequences up to that point. But this was his only film as producer, and the fact that the movie failed is really, I don't think that's surprising. It was just a project out of its time. There are some fine supporting performances. It's nice to see two Bond villains in the same movie for a change, with Michel Lonsdale as a French resistance man and Christopher Lee as a gypsy encampment leader. There's a good cast, some strong photography, but it is let down by that confusing editing and the uncertain tone. And the result is something that's moderately entertaining, but really not that impressive.